He's the brute your mama warned you about. Reviled Kayo doesn't just hit hard, he hits different. From armed and dangerous to underhanded cheat. My name's Will.
And I'm Ning.
And today we got Tommy from Siblings and Cardboard joining us. Tommy's won PQs for Vincent-IO. In fact, Tommy was credited for winning the first LL points for IO. He's a consistent day tour on multiple events. He's just recently won a 1K on Verdance, and I think he went to Agro Blaze's local store and dominated there. So, it's all about swinging big and hitting hard, and Tommy, I think that describes you pretty aptly here. So welcome to the cast. All right, appreciate you. So one of the things... I'm sorry, go ahead, Tommy.
So yeah, maybe it does, because I kind of cut my teeth on Levia, and I was all about swing big.
Fantastic. So actually, since we're a Learning Journey podcast, one of the things we always like to cover is what we learned since last week. And then I figured Ning and me will go before you, and you can kind of jump in and kind of see how it goes. But one of those things I always like to ask before we get into that is your origin story. So you kind of highlighted you started and cut your teeth on Levia, got into that brute addiction, if you would. So how did you start in Flesh and Blood? I don't think I ever asked you this before.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of my best friends growing up, he's like the person I played Magic the Gathering with. Like we sat around and in a trailer, playing with the cards that we picked up over time, buying stuff from the local store. Mm-hmm. Never ordering anything off the internet, right? Just what we had access to. I stopped playing Magic the Gathering around when Ravager was the big deck, because I just hated that format. And I'm like, okay, I'm done playing Magic. I'm going to focus on college. So I didn't play any card games until then, and literally this is a decade later, and he's like, there's this game that's really mathy, and he showed me Flesh and Blood. He's like, here, you'll really like this, let me just show you how the combat chain works. And he showed me some example hands on how Fi worked. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, you're right, I actually really like this. And I think within a month I'd completed -IE, and I played -IE during the Oldhim meta, so the very end of Dynasty. And her approach to the game was very interesting, because you did this switchboard plan between building the gun, building Exodia, and playing boost when you needed to play boost. Mm-hmm. And so enjoyed that quite a bit, and then thought, okay, what's some other decks I could get into? Levia was cheap, so I ended up getting into Levia after that. I don't know if that held me back or made me a better player. She was fine for a couple of metas. She was actually okay, and I did day 2 with her a couple times. I think I played her for almost a year, and then finally said, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired of my deck just punting 1 in 10 games, no matter what.
So
that sounds similar to me, and starting with Azuri and staying with that for a while. It's do I want to actually win more games than not? So. But definitely learn pretty good basics out of it.
We're going to talk about Brute Azuri today.
Yeah, Brute Azuri. That's funny. I started on Rhinar, by the way, and we all know. So we all started with difficult heroes, and I like to think that, hey, maybe the humility helped me out in the long run. But so one of the things we do again is since we're that Learning Journey podcast, Ning, what did we learn since last week?
I've been playing a decent amount of Puffin recently, and that deck is very interesting, because when things go well, it goes well. But when your hand breaks, I never thought that I would experience a Runeblade hand playing a Mechanologist, but yet here we are. And so that's been interesting. And also, I think just from a fundamental level, it's been interesting to figure out what play pattern or what you should end up with in your arsenal when you have a choice. So do you end up with a relatively high cost card, or do you end up with a low cost card, so that you think, oh, maybe I'll hit hard next turn, or you think, oh, well, I'll just convert my hand and my last card in my arsenal is a 0 cost, so I can just play it. So that's been interesting to experiment with and kind of see what works.
Yeah, I know. I learned an old lesson that keeps on coming back up when I play Brew is you shouldn't roll scab skins for the hell of it, because although it's fun when you roll that 4 and 6, when you roll that 1 twice in a row, it feels bad. So Mikey, Donnie's brother from Siblings and Cardboard, was out. I was like, you know what? I'm feeling a little froggy. Let me roll scabs for no other reason than I could. Right? I had optimum plays in my hand and just won. I was like, okay, well, I'll catch up next turn. We'll see what happens. 1. I was like, okay, now I'm really behind, right? Very behind. And yeah, so I just punted. I also learned that I really, again, an old lesson, that I really, really need to start reading these cards more because this card, Still Victory, does not steal auras. Like when Nate, our local, was playing Pleiades, I was like, oh, give me
Could you
that,
imagine?
dude.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Just give me that
Arclight
plus
Sentinel?
6.
Dude, no, I'm here to steal Arclight Sentinel, man. Like,
Oh man.
Yeah.
So he said, "Hey, I think you played Still Victory wrong," and I was like, "You know what?" I read the card. I was like, "Still or a token makes sense." And so it didn't really matter in that game because there's such a huge life lead, and I was able to block out with RKO. Uh, and that's why I was on when I was playing this, of course. And so, but it didn't really matter. But I just did it once to him, and that was enough. And I was like, I do feel bad, but I learned, hey, I should read these cards a little bit more carefully. So, Tommy,
And you know what the funny part is? After that, he played against me, and he defended with Overcrowded and came up with the same issue. Where he was like, I thought this worked with all auras, and then we read carefully. He's like, oh no, it's just aura tokens.
or unique aura tokens on the board.
Yeah.
Yep. Man.
He did not full block that turn.
So I think when people are playing math and like reading cards, I'm just playing with the pictures. Like I'm trying to stay within the lines.
Vibes only, you know.
Yeah, I was like, hey, I think this card looks like it should do this, and so it's still a bad habit. And you know, I just gotta play a little bit cleaner. But Tommy, so obviously you have a little bit more experience than both me and Ning. What did you learn since last week?
Dude, okay. I learned something really, really simple, and looking for scrap is an absolutely insane card.
Yep.
And that card is bananas. Like,
yeah, I know we're going to talk about that. Like, so a little foreshadowing because I was waffling on this card for my personal RKO deck, and it was in the maybe pile for the longest time. And I was like, yeah, why would I fit that in? And then I saw you play, and I was like, I get it. And we'll talk about that. I'm not going to spoil it. I was like, but when you explained it to me, just that light bulb, like you can see, ding. I was like, I get it now. All right. So, all right. We're here to talk about Reviled Kayo, RKO, lovingly known by the community. And the first thing we like to do is sometimes for our listeners out there, we like to read the hero ability and cards. So we're going to go ahead and share this beautiful screen, and we will go ahead and cover Kayo's ability, Underhanded Cheat. So you start the game with 1 weapon zone, so he still got 1 arm. Instant, 4 resources, tap. Target attack action card you control has 6 base power. Whenever the crowd boos you, create a Vigor token. He's 4 intellect, 40 life, so your basic package. Now, Tommy, what's the play pattern and theme KO is trying to achieve over the course of the game before we actually start deep diving into how he compares to the other brute heroes?
okay. So right off the bat, when we first saw RKO, like the thing that stands out is this brute makes Vigor tokens, where in heavy hitters, it was the Warriors and Guardians that make Vigor tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about like what brute does, sometimes they break Sash for 1 resource. Like, so how powerful can a Vigor token be? We didn't really know when we first saw like exactly like how often you're going to use the other hero power. And when you like kind of look at it, it even seems bad, right? You pay 4 to set an attack to 6. Like, how's that going to get used? There's like the really clear thing that if you make a Vigor token, this goes down from costing 4. So blue, essentially blue plus a tunic to just a blue. But when we finally saw the actual card pool, the card pool is what really, really makes the full package of the hero come together and be really powerful. So basically, like the Reviled Brute package and plus Mocking Blow Reviled card, those together create like why you play the hero.
I
So
know
your turn cycles are like splits, right? You ask your opponent, like, am I going to pump this card or am I going to arsenal?
Mm-hmm. And thus your Uzuri reference earlier, right? Like kind of Uzuri-ish, right? So one of those things though is with KO, I know a lot of people dogged on him earlier when they first saw his hero ability, and I think a lot of people were saying, well, we have to see the rest of the cards first. Because on face value, like the Vigor might be interesting, but we're not sure how this target attack action card you control has 6 base power. From the start, when you first saw the hero ability, did you think that there was potential here, or were you like, that's really
No.
costed?
I dogged on this hero. Like even after we saw the whole card pool, I'm like, it's better than I thought, but it's still not enough.
All right.
It's funny. What really sold me wasn't even anything from the new set. It was watching someone play Blue Nimby, get a Blue Nimblism from their deck, and then activate Tunic and like throw a 1-card 6.
Yeah.
One card 6s are really good. Like really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, if the average card value is valued at 3, you get in double the value on the card. That seems pretty
Mhm.
dang good. All right, so that's the hero ability. That's his definitely play pattern. How does he compare to the other brute heroes? I mean, brutes typically have a lot of variance in their gameplay or game style. How does RKO handle all that?
So I think he is the best version of like the Go Clubbin brute build.
Okay.
So if you're playing Rhinar in kind of like a defensive way, I think RKO in general plays that play pattern much, much better. The downside to RKO is he has no way to play Blood Rush Bellow. A completely ridiculous card. The next downside is he doesn't have an identity through his weapon at all. His weapon basically does nothing. It like 3 times a game you give it go again. And that's it.
Well, and I know we'll talk about it when we get to that, how you give the weapon go again, but even the way you played it, you really held it as a instant discard effect. So you don't know if the opponent never really knew if the claw was going to have go again until they were already committed to blocking or whatnot. So I like that where you always hold that information back because information is power, and you always like to play your hands close to your chest, you know? So, all right, how about the equipment? Let's talk about this basic brute equipment package. We got Apex Bonebreaker. You know, you want to go one by one and just cover everything because
it literally doesn't get more basic, right? He plays the most vanilla brute equipment package possible. You play Apex Bonebreaker only because there's nothing better. You'll never activate T-Rex gauntlets. Like you're the only 6 you're really pitching very often is your Reviled Brute blue 6 outside interference. Tunic makes this entire deck tick.
Okay.
The deck doesn't work without Tunic. If they ban Tunic tomorrow, RKO would be unplayable the next day. So this is like how you start your engine. If you don't have the Vigor token already, you're always revolving around like making sure your Tunic turn counts. And if you're winning and losing sometimes by how effectively you use your Tunic counter.
Yeah. So would you hold your Tunic counter on the Tunic until you absolutely need it, or do you try to use it as the value comes up so you can build more Tunic counters on it over the course of the game?
Depends on the matchup, right? If you know you need to generate lots of value and you have a floating Vigor token and got forced to block down, it's not necessarily a bad decision to use your Tunic counter just to throw Claw for 3. Like you're asking your opponent to give you a card for essentially nothing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. And then how about the Scabskin Leathers and, you know, the other basic Scowling Fleshbag? I mean,
okay, well, Fleshbag is the best headpiece in the game. There's people are going to try to argue like Face Purgatory, but Face Purgatory, the opponent gets to choose what they discard. And like you kind of have to like take 2 cards out of your hand and draw a random card to use Face Purgatory. The Scowling Fleshbag just says once per game, I just get to completely wreck my opponent.
Right.
It's got a high skill ceiling, right? You don't want your opponent's going to try to like trick you into maybe banishing a D-React out of their hand that they just wanted to arsenal anyway, those kind of things. But sometimes you just do it because like I don't care if it's a D-React, I just don't want it to be a Just a Nick. So you put Fleshbag in front of the Persuasive Prognosis and tell your opponent to get bent. All right.
Yeah. And I think, was it you that had the funny play with the Scowling Fleshbag and a Gravy Bones was attacking you and you hit the Scowling Fleshbag and ended the turn right then and there? Like they had
I think I IP2'd him.
So value right there, right? Like, yeah, that's great. And I always speak highly of Scowling Fleshbag. How about Scabskins? How often do you roll this?
Okay, so we were talking about this at our last armory. I would say, in general, if you were to talk about like the entire meta and who you're likely to face against, it's about 1 in 3 games.
Okay.
You're rolling very, very rarely. And with some of the changes I've made to the deck, not with the list that we have up, because we're talking about looking for scrap being added to the deck. Adding looking for scrap to the deck reduces the amount of times you need to roll fleshback by a lot. Usually, or not fleshback, leathers. Usually if you're rolling leathers, it's because you're ahead, extremely behind, or you have nothing else better to do. Like, okay, if you throw 6 at your opponent and you know the way their deck works, they don't care about blocking 6. Why would you throw 6 into them? Like, what's the point? You're not taking anything out of their hand. If you know it's not going to go fatigue, it doesn't do anything. Those are when you roll for leathers, right? Yeah. If you're playing against someone where you just need to get 2 cards out of their hand, you never roll leathers. You just intellect penalty with the 2 cards and just move on, right?
And on a side note, because I always like to throw my little Willisms in here, Verdance' feet was a huge thing when Rosetta came out. If they reskinned Capskin leathers with Verdance' feet, I think that would be
it would just be the Song of Sinew lady's feet.
Oh yeah, there you go, Noah. Shout out to you, brother.
I mean, just give the person there a pedicure.
Yeah,
like, train them up just a little bit.
All right, so basic equipment package. I guess we'll cover the sideboard afterwards, but let's cover your mainline deck. So we're going to start, and we'll go in order, kind of go through each of the cards. And what's your thought process by pitting in? I mean, obviously it's Big Bully, right?
Okay. I think we should just talk about like the Reviled package as a whole, because it's actually quite small.
Okay.
So your Reviled Brute cards in the deck are Big Bully, Steel Victory, and Outside Interference. I think this list still has some offensive behaviors. That card's moving in and out. It's one of the weaker blues. But if we're talking about the reasons to play the deck, are those 3 cards. So Big Bully is a 2-for-4 that says if you're higher life total than your opponent, you get booed. So already you're at 2 for 5, right? Because you get the Vigor token. And then if you've been booed this turn, it doubles its base. So now you're at 2 for 9. You're at great value. But it costs 2. RKO's hero power costs 4. If you have 2 blues in hand, you can set its base to 6. And then the static text on Big Bully reapplies and will put its power up to 12.
Nice.
So this can be a potential 3-card 12, which is like right in Flesh and Blood line. But usually most people who are trying to play 3-card 12s are doing what? Burning 3 cards, 2 to 3 cards out of their deck. We're only burning 1, and we're passing a Vigor token for a 13th point of value over to the next turn.
Yeah, that's some people equate this to like a third set of Swing Big. Right? I guess we could talk about that in a second, but do you want to cover a couple of the other Reviled cards, like Outside Interference?
Outside Interference is like the absolutely unique card. It's like one of the first times that we've gotten a wish inside of Flesh and Blood. You straight up get to wish for a Reviled card out of your inventory. And this list has like a full toolbox. We're reducing the size of that toolbox a little bit. But the concept of the toolbox in this list is you have Tear Down the Idols as a 7 power for Prism, but it's a 6 block or greater that you can get if you need to block, and you can pair it up with Apex Bone Breakers to guarantee your Might token. You've got multiple Bully Tactics because you can do Claw to force a card out of their hand, and then Bully Tactics intimidate the rest of their hand out away to guarantee 3 damage and finish out games. You always want to have like a big Bully in the sideboard. So, because one of the best play lines you could do is Claw, discard Outside Interference, give the Claw go again, use your previous turn Vigor token or Tunic Counter, throw Big Bully for 8, make a new Vigor counter.
Yeah.
1 Mocking Blow on the sideboard's really great. People waffle between whether they want to put red or yellow. I've decided to put the red there because you could always pitch yellow Mocking Blow for a Claw Swing. You can't do that with a red. You're just forced to play it. But Mocking Blow, let's say that you have a floating Vigor token or a Tunic counter. You could just straight up discard the Outside Interference to grab a Mocking Blow and then throw it for a 2-card 10.
Yeah.
Which is higher value than most other plays that you're going to make there. And then finally, Bask in Your Own Greatness is actually a very critical card to have in your sideboard. 1, it kills Sawbones if there's 2 Sawbones on the field. 2, it kills up the other 4 toughness things as long as you don't get Fearless Confrontation. And 3, it's like the best possible value you could do for 0, or even better, 0 with the 1 Vigor token floating. So you get to make 1 Might token. And it sounds kind of specific, but it comes up all the time.
Yeah. And actually, this is another card I was waffling on, and you convinced me with your play. Like a 0 for 5, in essence, converting that Vigor token, if you have no other way to use it, for a Might in the future, it's fantastic. Why wouldn't you do that? I know we jumped ahead and covered the inventory first, but we had to kind of do it for outside interference. For
Yes,
those that,
it's a really unique card.
yeah, and for those that are listening, again, outside interference is a reviled brute attack action, so you might as well just hit reviled KO specialization here for now. But it's instant discard this. You may reveal a reviled attack action card from your inventory and put it to your hand. Now, you also mentioned tear down the idols,
I
and this one is a 0 block. So have you ever discarded this just to grab the block value for tear
Yeah.
down the aisles?
Multiple times. It's not uncommon to just need to block, discard the outside interference, get a block card, and put 3 block in front of something.
So are you mostly just keeping this deck for basically everything, and then you just use your outside interference to pull whatever you need for the most part?
Except for Kano.
Sure.
You pull out all the defensive cards, and you don't have anything for outside interference to get into Kano.
Makes sense.
And then you probably sideboard Oasis Respite into Kano.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Dude, RKO can sit on. I think I've sat on a Sigil of Solace in RKO for like 7 turns. You could sit on an Arsenal for a long time and not bad. So I think the critical thing about outside interference is that it's a red. This is a red card. But it
pitches for blue.
It's incredible. It also allows you to fork your opponent a little bit with claw, right? You get spread your damage out some. It is absolutely the reason to play the deck. It allows you to do some really cool things, and also allows you to have this like really insane blue ratio of like 24 blues, and you don't feel like you're playing a blue heavy deck when you are.
Yeah. And it's really, if you think about it too, it's not that you're playing 9 Mocking Blows. You're really playing kind of, it seems like 12, right? Because anytime you draw these 3 plus the 9 you have in your deck, or 8 and you have in deck, you grab this 3rd Mocking Blow in your sideboard. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Very unique card. Now, Command and Conquer, E-Strike, basic good numbers cards that you just want to have in there, or
so all the 2-cost attacks are your basic great cards. Command and Conquer threatens approximately 9 points of value. If you hit it or D-react, it's 10 points of value. Show Strength is 2 for 8. Swing Big is 2 for 8. I don't actually run E-Strike in the main deck now. I've started moving that to the sideboard, mainly because it is strictly worse than looking for a scrap in almost every case, except for blocking.
Interesting.
In longer games, the ability to bottom cards and to kind of like keep threat in your deck is really good. But if you think about it, E-Strike to do 5 go again costs you 2 cards, where looking for a scrap leaves you 2 resources floating with a blue pitch. And then you could swing Claw for 3 to have another source of 2-card 8 in your deck.
Yeah. And I don't see the looking for a scrap here. Am I missing it?
Yep, this is the list I took to PQ last weekend. And that's what I said. What did we learn this week? I learned that every RKO list probably have 3 looking for a scrap in it.
And so actually I was waffling on the looking for a scrap. That's the card I was like, I'm not sure if I want to put this in. Good. But the way you explained it, and not only is it the 1 cost, but you could really play looking for a scrap, go into your Claw, and that is a 1-card 8. And I never thought about that. 2-card 8, yeah.
So Tunic Counter turns it into a 1-card 5.
Yep.
If you have a Villainous Pose, it's a 1 cost that you could throw with Villainous Pose if you don't have like Tunic Counter or a Vigor token. So it's a 2-card or a 3-card 9 with a Vigor token.
Yeah.
There's just like a lot of smooth plays that work really, really well with it.
And let's talk about Villainous Pose. Like, this is the only front buff you have, but it's your next attack to strength gets +4. The crowd boos you. It has go again. It's a 2 cost, 2 block, so it's not blocking for the full value. And it seems like this is still relatively a 2 cost 5, so it's underrated. Why do you include this?
It is a way to get hand extension. The card is not great in first cycle, and second cycle it is an absolute monster. Or CNC for 10.
Yeah, that seems good.
CNC for 10 is really good. A lot of lists I'm testing now, we're only running 2 Villainous Pose and 1 Pummel, because the only thing better than CNC for 10 is CNC for 10 as a attack reaction that also makes your opponent discard a card.
Yeah, and that's really good value with the CNC too, because if you pull that card from the arsenal, they can't play the D-React. Yeah, that's pretty much 3-card 13.
Well, no, you have Tunic or Vigor token. Yep. Yes, 3 cards. So if you have the Tunic or Vigor token, you pitch a blue to go Villainous Pose, Command and Conquer. If you actually hit something out of their arsenal between 3 and 4 points of value, You're also still getting the vigor token, so now you're approaching like 15 points theoretically.
Wow.
It's just very, very high value.
Yeah.
Even if they have no arsenal, that play is usually quite strong against a lot of matchups because they might have a defense reaction that they want to go ahead and use that turn, but can't.
How many times have we been Command and Conquered and got stuffed with our defense reaction? You know, like too many times. So like enough. All right, let's talk about the big.
We missed one Reviled Brute card. You missed it.
Reviled Brute. What did I miss?
It's your favorite.
The one you misplayed.
It's
the Still Victory.
Okay.
I didn't want to live through. I'm sorry.
It's hyper specific, but this card is another absolute reason to play this hero. It gets around overpower because it's a block card. It's blue, it comes in at 3 block, but it has this ability to steal aura tokens. Like, there are many matchups where this can just absolutely flatten your opponent. The biggest one being Codex of Frailty, right? You steal their ponder token, they just get kind of sauced. Prism like gets Soraya out and then swings at you. You steal their ponder token. She gets sauced. Kayo makes a might token. It is not trivial to steal his might token from him.
Or even his agility, right? Like he needs agility.
That's the high roll. Yes, if you steal the agility, you're absolutely high rolling. But okay, let's talk. You steal the 1 might token from him. He can't command and conquer you for 7. Now, if he has to like block down, it's a CNC for straight 6. But also, if he tries to play Cast Bones, because you typically play Cast Bones in that matchup, he now has to hit dead 6, or he doesn't get his agility token. You stole the might. So this card is really strong. If you're not playing 3 copies, I think you're kind of missing out on what this hero is supposed to do. And man, stealing the ponder token off of Codex of Frailty is just so rude, especially if you pair Overcrowded and. Okay,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Okay. The best play ever is when an assassin swings into you and they're going to do the command and conquer thing, right? Let's say Mario marks you and he's going to do a Codex command and conquer. You put Overcrowded in Arsenal. You have a vigor token floating. So now Overcrowded's blocking for 5. And you have Steal Victory. You could just like cover anything. Yeah. But even if you don't have Steal Victory, Overcrowded's so funny because you just block 5 out of Arsenal and the command and conquer hits you for 1 and knocks the mark off.
Yeah, because you can block with it and it's not a defense reaction; it's just an attack. And you can't block.
It's an ambush. Yeah.
So you've got so many ways to play against Codex of Frailty. It's very hard for Codex of Frailty to game you in this deck.
Yeah, and I love how they started keywording the ambush. That's a lot of potential for future play, and I like that a lot. So fantastic. All right, so the Steal Victory. Fang's still out there. Nothing better than stealing his fealty token.
Oh, that is not trivial. Yeah, you get to steal 3 fealties a game. It's stealing Syndra's first fealty is often worth 3 to 4 points of value. So stealing one of Syndra's fealties, if she's only on 1, can absolutely ruin her turn. If she was trying to have an Oath of Loyalty turn that also played like an Ancestral, then like she can't play Ancestral Empowerment if you stole her fealty on the first chain link.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, now I was jumping ahead because I got excited about the Mocking Blow. All right, like you run red, yellow, you run the full rainbow. All right,
the blues are a 2-card 8. Like, dude, this card is bananas. If RKO gets like a life lead at all and has Tunic Counter or a Vigor token floating, you just every time you draw one of these with a blue, you're reds are 2-card 10, yellows are 2-card 9, blues are 2-card 8s.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rare that you draw a handful of blues and go, man, this hand is crazy.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to block 6 and then throw 8 at him.
Yeah.
And remake my Vigor token.
That's fantastic. And so, let's cover some of the offshoots before we go to the amount of defensive reactions you have in this deck and blocks. But let's talk about boos. This is a blue card. We covered this before. It's 0 cost. Go again. When this enter leaves the arena, the crowd boos. You have to start your turn, destroy this, 3 block. And it's a blue pitch. So is this just a way when you're down on life to get kind of ahead and get booed?
Okay. It is a way to kind of recover and maybe play a Mocking Blow or Big Bully at its correct value. Sometimes you do Arsenal. Another good reason it's in the deck is it allows you to fork. If you go to play a Mocking Blow for 8, 9, or 10 and your opponent fully blocks out, this is a card you could put into Arsenal.
Yeah.
That is actually the most common play line with boos, is that this was going to be your pitch card for your Mocking Blow or your Big Bully, and your opponent ends up having to fully respect it, you put this into your arsenal, and then you have boosts. Every once in a while, that extra vigor token allows you to do some really degenerate stuff, like open up with claw with no pitch, going into outside interference. Your opponent like has zero information on what your turn's about to become. They don't even get to see what card you're pitching.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's also it blocks Centauri Sabers really well. That's another main reason it's in the deck. Kasai is a force in this meta. I think you're going to see her quite often, and Booze is one of the best blocking cards into her.
Yeah, because it's an action card, not an attack action card. Speaking of Kasai, does Steal Victory work with her gold? No,
because it's an item.
It does steal the vigors though.
Yeah, so. There you go. From the blood vest or whatever it's called.
Yep.
Fantastic.
So I've stole vigor from her several times, and every time you steal a vigor, that gains you about 3 points of value because she usually converts that into either a single attack reaction or a sword swing.
And I know you mentioned this on Booze, but something I really wanted to point out for those that are trying to understand Reviled Kayo is this doesn't happen whenever the crowd boos you, create a vigor token on his hero card. It's not a once per turn. This is whenever the crowd boos you. So you can have multiple vigor tokens in a turn. That's how you can swing the claw for free because you got 2 vigor tokens, pop the claw, and then no information like you were saying. Okay. When you saw a Mocking Blow, Tommy, did you already think numbers, tricksy, the underhanded cheat kind of scenario? Is this what really sold you on the deck as well with outside interference?
So the Mocking Blow is like what makes the deck actually work, and that's actually one of the weaknesses of the deck is you really do need to be on a higher life total, which clearly you're playing Flesh and Blood. You want to be on the higher life total.
Right.
So yeah, this is like a 9 of. The card's like great. As far as like synergies, that's why it's so good. It doesn't need any synergies. It's just a card on its own that does its thing.
And I guess that kind of highlights or foreshadows the reason why I see Fate Fortune. I haven't seen this card played as a D-React in such a long time because they had so many other good reacts like Sync Blow and Shelter from the Storm. So far I see 9 D-Reacts, but not only do I see 9 D-Reacts, I also see Sigil of Solace and Fiddler's Green. So that's, generic instant with the Sigil of Solace, and the Fiddler's Green is a block 1 but gain 3 life when the chain closes. You want to explain your reasoning behind, like, what is that? 15, 18 defensive cards? That seems like a lot.
You have to be on a higher life total.
Okay.
If you're losing really badly, none of your Mocking Blows are going to get value. All of your Big Bullies aren't going to get value. Lists I'm playing now are down to, I think I'm running 1 Fiddler's Green and 3 Sigil Solace, and I've also cut 1 Fate for Scene. I've got other defensive tools. I'm testing Take It on the Chin.
Interesting.
Prevent 2, make an agility token. Right. That extension is really good, and Take It on the Chin is extremely powerful in the Syndra.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because one of the ways you beat her is not worrying about the life lead, really. You just kind of like stop her from drawing her card and then, throw Swing Big into Command and Conquer. That's a really good way to get a life lead. And Sigil Solace and Fiddler's Green are kind of bad in the Syndra. Fiddler's Green is okay. Sigil Solace is just outright detrimental in the Syndra matchup. It's frankly awful if you don't draw them like in the first 2 turns.
Sure.
And that's could be why I was having tough matchups against Syndra, where I was kind of losing. I was definitely not favored, and I think I tried to fit in. What's the one where you prevent the next 3 damage? It was such undervalue when it came to RKO. I think it really worked against
Calming Breeze.
Calming Breeze, thank you. So I put that in there. I was like, oh yeah, what a cute tech. And then I was like, it was so awkward. I was like, I hate this card in RKO. Just does not work, right? So you wouldn't play Fiddler's Green and Sigil Solace and Syndra either. You would just go pure.
Fiddler's Green is okay. It blocks a dagger. It covers up. It covers up. What is it? Blaze Headlong for 5 when they open up with the one that gives it +1. That's a really common way they play. They'll do the 3 that gives +1 to the next thing, and they'll play Blaze Headlong for 5. So anything that does minor pumps to bump things up to 5, it's good. Though, like I said, I think I'm dropping down to just 1 in the list. And I think 12 life gain is enough. And specifically Syndra. Slower games, man, I love Fiddler's Green. That card's great. But there are times where you draw 2 of them and go, man, this hand doesn't block. Or you draw 2 of them when you have tempo, and you go, I gotta put these back into my deck. I can't like hold on to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen sometimes where you go into the think tank and you're trying to navigate out of a bad hand. You usually come out ahead on that, at least from the numbers perspective. And then I think you said it like sometimes you like to see the field is green on the second cycle, anyways, if you go long, right? Just because you get that life advantage,
okay.
right? So,
well, your opponent might make mistakes. They forget the fiddler's greens are in the deck. They're like, okay, no matter what, I'm going to chip them down from here, and then they throw some break point, and you block with the fiddler's green and gain 3 life. They go, well, ooh.
right. That's right. It does block for the break point.
This Flick Knives is not looking as deterministic as I thought it was going to be now.
Yep.
That's great. All right, let's talk about your 2 flex strength. Now I play 3 of, but I like this card.
3 of is fine. This is my favorite interaction in the game. It is so much fun to throw this card at your opponent and go 2, maybe 9.
Yeah.
Your opponent's like, wait, what? So this card is a 2 cost that comes in for 2 base, but it says if it has a base of 6, or if it has a power of 6, it goes up by +3.
Yeah.
In fact, like if you play this as red, it's just strictly worse. It does the same thing. Even as red, it comes in for 9. So we like to call this Yellow Thunderquake, but it pitches blue.
Yeah. That's so good.
So could
strong.
you play this and then play a pummel and then that
you
counts?
Could totally pummel this
and then
card.
it goes up to 10?
Yes, this is actually one of your primary pummel targets. If you
Nice.
if you end up keeping your 1 pummel until late game, this is one of your primary pummel targets because you're almost guaranteed to have this card still in your deck. And it definitely gets insane with pummel. If you have absolutely full tempo, you could also still pump it by 4 if you needed to.
Yeah. That's great. You know, I was running the flex speed card and it was so awkward and didn't do nothing for me with the go again. But I kept the flex strength in and I really liked it because you said it's a 2-card 9. Right? I mean, who doesn't love that? All right. And then we're going to talk about your favorite interaction and then we'll talk about the Rotten Remains to kind of finish up the main board. But Nimblism and Nimby, right? Of course, Nimby goes with Nimblism, right? It's both in blue. For those that don't know what Nimby does, because you don't really see the blue played a lot, it's 0 cost blue pitch. 1 power, 2 block. When this attacks me, search your deck for a Nimblism, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Nimblism, I mean, should I even bother reading this text? Does this come up, or should I just say this is a blue pitch card that you could just fetch?
It's come up exactly 1 time.
Okay.
I was playing against a tough nut, and I had the 2 Nimblisms left in the deck, and I drew them up. And I just put the 2+1 pumps on Give and Take. And Give and Take is the one if they block with action cards, you could put cards back on top of your deck. And that forced it to be a 5, maybe 8 instead of a 3, maybe 6, which was specifically significant in that scenario. And it was really funny. Like, I've never played this card before. I just played both of them at the same time.
That's so funny.
Nimby, however, is possibly the grossest fork in the deck. If you ever roll scabs and hit, or if you ever have an agility token, throwing Nimby for 1 is the rudest thing you can do. Like, you get to put a fresh blue in your hand. This card costs you nothing, and you're looking at your opponent and being like, 1 or 6.
I love it, dude.
This is the persuasive prognosis fonts of agony problem, right?
Right.
Like, you're even if you're not worried about losing the card, you're like, oh god, if I give him 2 cards here and then he just throws the Mocking Blow next,
you're right.
You pump the Mocking Blow. If I give nothing, he's just going to hit me for 6 with the Nimby.
Yeah. And so let's say they block out the Nimby. Then you just sidestep, go to the second card.
Go to the second card and through red Mocking Blow and be like 5 or 10.
And I've seen you do this where they don't block the Nimby, you pump it to the 6, and then you arsenal the Mocking Blow or whatever card it is and say, okay.
Yeah, you could just claw or arsenal the Mocking Blow if it's more appropriate to just, if you got their like whole hand. Like if they block 2 on the Nimby and they're at 3 and you throw and like you know that they're sitting on D react or something, you could just throw claw. It depends on like the scenario. Usually if you have Mocking Blow for 10, you just throw that thing out there.
Gotcha. And one of Rotten Remains. Actually, I had 2 in the possible maybe mix, and I was not going to add this in. It was still in the maybe pile. So
this card is so bad, but you're a prisoner to it. Okay. So the text on this card reads like when you play it, you banish 1 power from your graveyard, and then you banish a power from your opponent's graveyard. And if you do that, it gets +1. The reason why you're a prisoner to this card is if you play in the RKO mirror and you have 0 of these and they have 1, you auto lose. It's impossible for you to win because eventually the opponent is going to hit you with like a 2-card 15 to 18.
Yeah. Oh man, that is and that's why actually my new deck has 1 of in there because of that.
You only need 1, and because looking for scrap also eats some of the ones out of your graveyard. Between looking for scrap and 1 rotten remains, you should be safe. If you could play rotten remains and get like +4 or 5 points on it, you could throw that there, and you could be fairly confident that your opponent's never going to just absolutely wreck you with a rotten remains.
Would you play this against a Syndra matchup? And we're talking about Syndra.
Oh yeah, no, you definitely put in Syndra, especially Redline Syndra. If it's blue, you probably won't get them. But every once in a while, the Syndra like plays. What is it? The one that flicks both the daggers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Blood Runs Deep.
Yeah, they like Blood Runs Deep after they've already like flicked bot back and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, they shouldn't do that, but sometimes they do. And you go, Rotten Remains, and they now have this dilemma of losing both of their daggers or pitching 3 reds out of their hand.
Yeah, that's the dream. I just want to see
a win. Yeah, it's a way to win. Like, so why not? You have to run it anyway. The only other deck that it really has crossover with is you can use it into Ira. There's some Ira lists that run a bunch of 1-ups or 1-powers.
Oh, for the Kadachi stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you can, if it's some kind of weird flick Ira and stuff too, you can eat a Kadachi out of her out of her graveyard, and then she kind of just loses the game on the spot. Yeah, I mean, you're just stuck with it. You have to run it. Would I rather it be a flex strength or an overcrowded? Yeah, but
yeah, it's pretty spicy tech, and I actually got one in there because of the way you explained it. You lose against the RKO. I was like, that's true. If they have it and you don't, you just feel bad. Yeah. All right.
Feels like Cosmic Awakening for the mirror match.
It is.
See who gets there first.
It's not going to see who gets there first. If you could tell your opponent's not on one, you literally just wait around until it's coming in for like 18.
Yeah, and then incremental value bleeds through in the game of value. So yeah, that's your main line 60. It looks pretty good. Very much more defensive. I think you have 6 more defensive cards in here than I run in mine. Like I think I got the Steel Victory as a sideboard and some other like niche differences. But
I don't like putting blues in the sideboard.
Okay. Because you want to keep it at 23, 24 as your count goes.
Well, no, you want to put impactful reds and yellows in your sideboard. The only blue that's in the sideboard is Poison the Well.
And then, Tommy, I could tell you that you're a dedicated podcaster about this game because that segue, chef's kiss to you, man. I actually noticed that on Siblings of Cardboard where you'll set it up and your co-host will totally miss it. You're like, dude, come on, what are you doing? So thank you for the segue, Tommy. Let's finish out with your inventory then. I know we covered a lot of this and how it's outside interference target for a lot of them, but let's talk about one of the spicier cards I've seen. I combed the RKO list after I built mine to kind of see what everyone else is playing, and you're the only one I've seen that kind of ran the give and take.
Give and take is like a meta call. If you're playing against someone who's like got a ton of reactions or something, like this card is like, let's say you're going to play against Arachne, any of the Arachnes. Maybe Slippy. You can get some points in this if it goes very long, but the other 2 Arachnes, no. This is never going to hit and actually get a card back. If your local has a bunch of Tough Nuts, this card slaps versus Tough Nut. Because these all action cards, right? I'm only playing 1 at the moment, and this weekend I might play none.
Okay.
It's just a strong go again, but looking for scrap kind of takes up that slot. And I've moved E-Strike into the sideboard and looking for scrap into the main board. And so the deck building tension is getting kind of high for that card.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's good though.
Maybe even Tough Nut becomes main, and a lot of people are running around with them, or Guardians they love to block. Maybe give and take a shot. Add that in. So that's always a good card. And again, it's one of those things. Like since I don't even know what set this is from. Right?
Outsiders.
Outsiders. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then I see that you ran 2 Arc Smash, not 3.
Okay, I have a rationale behind that. A lot of people run 3. So you got to think up of your matchups that you run multiples in. Your primary matchup that you run Arc Smash into is Verdance.
Okay.
So on average, you're hoping to get 1 potion per arc smash. Sometimes you'll get 2.
Mhm.
Occasionally you'll get none, and that feels really bad. But the reason I don't need to run, and the reason I don't want to run 3 is because if you draw 2 arc smashes at once, 1 arc smash doesn't play the other arc smash. I really hate that. But Poison the Well plays arc smash, and Poison the Well also gets rid of 1 potion. So Poison the Well is exactly on rate for your minimum expectations from arc smash, and has a lot of play into other matchups. This card is literally the only way to beat Florian. If you don't run Poison the Well, you cannot beat Florian.
Interesting.
You have to zap him. You have to zap one of his Germinates. If you don't do it, you lose.
Okay.
And then the other... God, this card is so disgusting in the mirror.
Yeah.
Poison, because the fight in RKO is who can get the higher life total and start throwing the good value first.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go to play a Sigil of Solace or block with a Fiddler's Green and you poison it, that is a 1 card 6.
Yeah.
It's blue Nimby and you didn't need a Vigor token.
This is pretty good.
Comes in versus the mirror.
Yeah, so I see it's very technical as far as the inventory goes. Like, you kind of slot it in for the different matchups that you might be facing. Let's talk about Poison the Well and the IP against Florian. You draw this early, you pitch it until you get to end state with Germinate being present.
You try not to pitch it. You
Okay.
desperately try to sink it or E-strike it.
Okay.
Like, you don't get your choice, but the less Florian knows about where it's at, the better.
Gotcha.
In my PQ game, I lost to Alex Slotnick on Florian, and it was only because I zapped him for 7 when he Germinated me, and I needed to roll 2 action points on Scabs to just kill him outright in the next turn. I only hit a 3, the least interesting result. And so I just threw 8 at him and was like, dang. And then he throws a Felling the Crown at me with 14 rune chance. I survive and still almost get there, but like I said, the Germinate would have gained him 7 life, and I would have lost the game on the spot. But I went the other way. So that was a 1 card 14.
Oof.
So,
dude, you talking these numbers, man, and let me tell you, like, when I read the cards in my head, it's like, yeah, okay, it seems good. But when you talk about the amount of swing and value that this card provides versus all the other tech out there against the specific targets you're doing, it's massive. Like you said, when Florian's online and he Germinates for 7, that's not getting 7 life. He's losing 7 life. That's way above rate.
Yeah, that's huge. Inverdance, when she breaks a potion, instead of gaining 2, she loses 2. So that's 4. She doesn't get the ping. So that's 5.
Yep.
She loses amp 2. So that's 7. And if it was an Insurgent Aethertide, it's 9.
Yeah.
So it stacks up really high. It's way higher value than even Arc Smash. Though Arc Smash is the best way to get Verdance to just scoop early. So you don't have to play out the rest of the match.
That's funny. And then also against, I guess, your Dio, your Puffins, your basic people that run the items. I guess this also would work Kano, even Gravy Bones, really, because you can smash the
run
gold,
it in Gravy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got a really high floor. Its floor is it blocks 3.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And it's yellow pitch, so worst case. Awkward, you pitch it to the fall. Yeah. That's like this deck, like I can see why. Okay, Tommy, I'm going to tell you story time real quick, and I'm not going to track too long with this, right? But I was playing my RKO, and people were like, it's good, but you really need to see Tommy's deck. I kid you not, dude. I kid you not. You know how many people told me that? Every person I played on Sunday said, you really need to see Tommy's deck. I was like, I don't want to hear about Tommy no more, right? I was like, I'm jealous of Tommy. I don't want to hear his name.
I remember Will was showing the team his RKO deck on, February, whatever, and then you're just like, why are you including this card? Why are you including this card? This is a weird card. Just look at Tommy's deck.
Okay, so I gotta give some credit. I helped with a lot of this, but the person who jumped in the channel and be like, hey guys, this is really cool is Taylor Crawford. Taylor Crawford from the Card Guys, he is he loves to cook these lists when heroes are just brand new, and he's the first one who popped up and said, watch this, and he played Blue Nimby, and then it turned into a 1 card 6. I'm like, that's sweet.
Wait, it's not Taylor Crawford's list, because I think he threw in the 3 E-strikes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You throw
I
in
watched that
3
cast.
strikes. It's your list now. It's your list now. But so Taylor Crawford, I would say he's the one that first exposed me to the list. So give him credit. And then Damian Riggins, also from Card Guys, me and him work together very heavily. Kind of what the current idea of RKO is now. And you could also see like Mansant and other content creators. We're all starting to kind of converge. Also, shout out to Florian Koch. I probably grossly mispronounced his last name. He's a player from Europe who X3 in the calling last weekend on RKO. So he played a very similar list. Basically, he took our list from our video that we did on the Card Guys channel and put in Looking for Scrap and Arcane Compliance, and took that and went X3. He was like, he had 2 of his losses in day 1. If he had 2 of his losses in day 2, he had a okay chance of maybe hitting top 8. There was only one X3 in top 8.
Okay.
So it was mainly whoever lost their 3 games on day 2, but he cashed out. So first person to cash out on RKO, as far as I know.
That's great. And you know, like I was playing around with like Overload Blue and all that stuff, but really, as you were saying, Tommy, we all kind of come into the same. It's kind of like that story I hear about. Hey, you can have this tribe in this country and this tribe in this country, and they all build boats differently, but they all float on water and they all look different, but they do the same function. And then eventually, they kind of meld into the same thing, right? Where I feel like that's where a lot of the people are going. And I know when I saw you play, it really clicked to why you would take out some cards, cut some cards, and add the other cards in. Like your deck,
Blue is really good though. I don't fault anyone for running that as a one of one. If you have more than one, I am going to get on to you. It's a 2 block that's so situational.
Yeah. I guess my one question, and you kind of answered this, but I want to kind of verify. You run 3 Nimbies and 2 Nimblisms. Why not just run one Nimblism? Because you're pitching it constantly.
The best of all ideal worlds, you only ever need 1 Nimblism. And everything is great until you go, man, I really need to block with this Nimblism. Or dang, I just lost this clash and it got milled off the top of my deck. Or crap, Arachne just hit me with a Leave No Witnesses and it just got banished. And then all 3 of your blue Nimblisms become blue block 2s that can be thrown for 6, but they lost all their efficiency. It's like, it's essentially just, they all turned into overcrowded with no text, right?
Yeah, you know what? And I think that's the difference where I think you play the safer, more proven line. And I'm like, oh, 1 Nimblism. If they get it, fuck it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, but then again, your win record with raw RKO is a lot better than mine, let me tell you. So this deck is awesome, man. And yeah, shout out to the Card Guys because that cast is fantastic. Like I did learn a lot, and the interplay between the 3 of you. And actually, I met Taylor Crawford before Tennessee's world release of the Hunted. Yeah. And I high rolled the hell out of him with Syndra. I killed him, and it was like 15 damage. And he was like, I don't think he remembers me, but he was like so depressed after that. I was like, yeah, it was good.
I love Taylor. The other gentleman on stream when we do the Monday streams, that's Aaron Grace though. I love Aaron Grace's sense of humor. His deadpanness is so funny.
It's funny.
That video was great. I totally suggest everyone to go watch us play the worst game of Flesh and Blood ever seen. The RKO versus Gravy Bones game is the worst game I've ever seen on YouTube.
That's funny.
You were mentioning that. And actually, I guess what I'll do is, because we mentioned the Card Guys here, I'll go ahead and post a link down in the description below just to give them a little credit, and they can actually check out that cast. Because it really is funny as hell the way you guys played around with each other. And the way you structure it is very good. Like, it was just fun to see. But yeah, the interplay with, hey, Taylor Crawford made the base list, and then, no, I changed it. 3 E-strikes. We all relate to that. So...
okay, there's a longer story with that. It was a list that people were trying to kind of keep under wraps, and Will Bradshaw got a hold of it. I think it was Needle Ira before the Needle got banned. And he started playing it on Talishar, and he started getting flamed for doing it. And he's like, "But it's my list." And everyone was like, "What'd you change?" And he's like, "Oh, I put 3 E-strikes." It didn't matter because the deck got banned like 2 days later.
Right.
That's funny.
That's funny. I did not know that was the origin was that.
That's always just a friendly bash on Will Bradshaw every time we talk about the 3 E-strikes.
Yeah. And I think we covered like the core game plan, covering your list, and the big thing is I always ask follow-up questions when we do these deep dives. One is
Mhm.
like, which classics carry over? But obviously, when we reviewed your deck, we saw that Command and Conquer, the Swing Bigs, they made the list. Which cards didn't make the cut and why? But you covered that with your testing, how you kind of swapping out E-Strike and pitting in. I always call it Scrap Trader. It's not Scrap Trader. I don't know why I keep on calling it that.
Scrap.
Looking for
Looking
a scrap.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's why
So
we have Ning. He's my natural translator when I'm punk drunk.
the one thing that's difficult about this deck is you only get 77, 76 cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're losing 3 cards right off the bat to make outside interference work.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are all cards that would be in the main deck
Mhm.
if like you had no way to pull them in. So the tension's really hard. Like running Erase Face would be great. Running Arcane Compliance for Acilio would be incredible. But like the deck building tension's like really, really tough there. Like
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
because you lost 4 slots right off the bat, you're losing 3 or 4 slots.
But I do like how you kind of got a Swiss Army approach to your sideboard where you can fit in enough tech against certain decks where it make a difference.
Mhm.
So it does change the percentage points a little bit more in your favor of winning without distorting what KO's game plan actually is. So it's a very careful line, like you said, that tension you were mentioning, right? So I love how you kind of included all this. So you're talking about bad matchups, good matchups. How's the deck perform against your basic aggro, mid-range control, and arcane? Like you already mentioned the arcane a little bit,
So
but
Arcane, yes, but specifically Acilio, no. And it's
okay.
almost for the same reason that like Syndra is kind of rough. They're decks that really thrive on doing lots of little chip along
Mhm.
with kind of setting up, consistently trying to set up 5-card hands. And that's really tough to deal with. You're often a little low on life. Acilio, you feel a little bit better because he does start at a lower life total, so you can almost always confidently say second
Mm-hmm.
and just hope that he doesn't zap you for like 5 or 6 arcane on turn 0 because you are not running AB into that matchup because you have to have fleshback.
Yeah.
Fleshback's the only way you're going to beat Acilio. So running AB1, you might as well just run the gloves and gain 3 life off the gloves. So that matchup is pretty tough because you don't really have space for AB. And then Syndra, Flick Knives is just so obnoxious. They start at 40, you start at 40, you start at 39, even if you go for second, right?
Yeah. So that's your aggro kind of matchup, how you'd fight that. Mid-range, I'm assuming you just outvalue them. You don't
Dude,
care.
you're the king of like all mid range and control.
Yeah.
Like the fact that your blues come in for 8 to 10, like, is just insane. Like your blues come in for so much value. You get to the bottom of your deck, and your deck's like 1 swing big, a villainous pose, and a bunch of blues that you could transform into 6+s. And your opponent's just like, how do you have this much gas left? I don't know, man. I just had to pitch a blue and a red because I didn't have a vigor token one turn. Like,
Yeah. That's great. And then you mentioned the Earth matchups. Florian specifically is a hard matchup. Verdance is kind of not.
Verdance is, unless Verdance knows very specific play lines into you, or she's very heavily teched for you, she's kind of free. Like you're running AB3, you're running Oasis Respite. I think if you don't run Oasis Respite, I think it's actually the matchup is super sketchy. But Oasis Respite says even without Tunic Counter, you pay 1 for Oasis Respite to prevent 4, and then you use their additional 2 to prevent the rest of the 6 off of one of their 6 spells, right? Light Up the Leaves or a Burn Bear. So it allows you to 2-card cover Burn Bear or Light Up the Leaves, and then you can use an additional blue or yellow to cover up the remaining 2 from Waning Moon, and they just lose an entire turn cycle. And from there, you could literally just you could either do like a 2 for 8 out of Arsenal. That might be your NIMBY turn. Like you have 1 card left, you get to throw NIMBY for 6, or you just claw and start wearing them down. But if you don't have Oasis Respite, I think it's very easy to get behind because if you AB3 all 6 of their spells, that's still 6 of them. That's still 18 points of value that you're getting hit, and they block really well. They gain life really well. They could even like wait at instant speed to try to gain life to turn off one of your Mocking Blows, which is really painful when that actually happens.
Yeah. And they could recur their spells too. They have Everbloom now, right?
Yeah,
Does that
they
work with
do
the
have.
spells?
Yes, they do have Everbloom. You have to gain 4 life in a single turn. So you have to do like a 3 life gain into the 1 off Everbloom to get back one of your zaps. It's more that like you can technically be really susceptible to Evergreen Loop.
Yeah.
Your only way to really force them to discard or lose an evergreen is to catch them off guard with a Command and Conquer Pummel. One of the reasons we're running Pummel too, it does improve your Verdance matchup, and Verdance is slated to be a very large part of the meta. So every card that also gets crosstalk into Verdance, I think, deserves being analyzed in the list.
Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much the list. It's pretty good. And I always have some fun segment, but do you have any other most RKO, reviled KO moments you've had so far? Like anything that's like you want to give a shout out?
The most reviled thing I've ever done is this is like turn 2 versus a Marlin, right?
Okay.
She goes in and she codexes me. I already have overcrowded in my discard pile. And so she codexes, gets Redfin Harpoon, activates Harpoon, and shoots it at me. And so I block for 5 with the overcrowded, and then I block for 3 with the Steel Victory to perfectly cover 8 and steal her Ponder token. And then she immediately homepaged me. And I'm just like, yes! So I 2-card covered her codex play and then stole her Ponder token.
Jesus.
So funny.
I bet you they were like, and they banned my golden tipple. Anyways, that's great.
I mean, if you see your opponent has overcrowded and they have an arsenal, you probably shouldn't bother codexing them. It's not worth it. You just...
So, and then first or second, what's your thoughts? Like,
always second. You go first into Kano and Gravy, and that is it. Second into everyone else.
Even you wouldn't go
first into Dio. First into Dio. Nope. Second into Verdance. You don't want them to just play. You don't want them to play non-attack actions for free. You don't want to let them play. What's the one that gains 1 life 3 times? You don't want them to just
Candlelight
have that for free
or Heartbeat or something like that.
Yeah, you don't want them to just play Heartbeat for free and you're down 3 life right off the bat. Like of course, they could have fruits, but like they can't play any of their defense reactions on the first turn cycle, right? They can't play any of their root bounds on the first turn cycle. So you're not going to do anything first anyway. If you draw a bad hand going first, you're like, I can't swing into Verdance. I'm just letting her fill her graveyard up and get her carapaces going. So yeah, always second to Verdance. You go first into Dio, and you throw whatever cards you can at her. If you don't draw a 2 for 8, roll Scabs.
I love it already.
Yeah, because you just want to steal cards out of her deck, right?
Yeah.
Because if you hit her for anything, you feel good because she's already at lower life. This gives you a little space to do if she does try to do like little pity turns and setup. Yeah, you might smack her for 10 with a red Mocking Blow. And once she's at like 20, if she ever takes a setup turn after that and you draw like a E strike and a 2 for 8, you could just say, well, I'm done fatiguing. I'm just going to kill you now. Otherwise, you swing into her first turn, she has to block. That's -3 cards out of her deck. It's 3 less cards. You have to wait until she's out of cards if you're trying to fatigue her. And then Kano, obviously, you don't want them to play potions for free out of hand. You want to make them get lucky and find them off the top.
Fair.
And then Gravy Bones, you don't want them to set up allies for free that you're going to just have to use your tempo to kill anyway. So you might as well just go first and swing into them to, again, basically you're doing the same thing as Dio. Swing into Gravy.
Try to get those cards out of his hand.
Get cards out of his hand. Maybe even hit him because he might just draw a bunch of allies. Feel pretty good there.
And I think you were actually the first one to teach me about proper fatiguing on the aggro matchups if you're going playing for that game plan. Do you go first or second? Well, I was like, I don't know, second. And you're like, nope, first. Because you want those cards out their hand. I think you're the first one to tell me that.
It depends. Like, against assassins, even if you think they're going to try to fatigue you, like, no matter what your game plan is, you always go second to assassin. There's never a reason to go first. In fact, even as when I play Dash.io, I go second to assassin. It's just not worth going first. Like, you're giving them the ability to disrupt you first.
Yeah.
So you always go second to assassin, no matter what the game plan is.
Okay. And then let's talk about your advice for new players trying to pick up this deck. Like, or wanting to try out RKO. Like, what would you suggest, or what's your elevator pitch for them to like gravitate toward this hero?
This deck is really cheap if you already have some of your staples. So maybe not a absolutely brand new player, but a newer player who's maybe just picked up one deck already and is looking to switch. A lot of the cards come from the new set, and until recently they were all dirt cheap. Even Show of Strength was really cheap, but it's gone up some. But overall, the deck is fairly affordable. some of the cards that are in here you could probably replace. Like E-Strike is not necessary. Command and Conquer is not necessary.
Looking for a scrap is dirt cheap too. So
looking for a scrap is cheap, and it's one of your better 2-for-8s.
Yeah.
Scab Skins is cheap. Fleshbag is not cheap, unfortunately. So that's one of the tough ones. Apex Bonebreaker, I think, is fairly affordable, but that one's that could be anything.
Yeah,
I didn't like that could even be Seeker's Myth, so you don't get hunted by Arachne.
And really, with even like the equipment, a lot of that you're not using the ability itself, except for Scaling Fleshbag. You're using it for the additional block value, so Battle 1-2 and stuff like that. So you could go with whatever fits that.
So this deck plays very weird. When you're first learning Flesh and Blood, everyone is always going, "Why are you blocking with equipment?" They just like, they're like, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "I want to keep my life total up." Like, why?
Yeah.
And then you go, because you die when your life goes to 0, and eventually you like learn that, oh, the number doesn't matter. The on hit is what matters.
Yep.
Right. And so you want to be or like maybe it's baiting you into bad decisions. You should just put the card in front of it, and you can use equipment later for your pivot.
Mm-hmm.
In RKO, sometimes it's just like shove.
Yeah.
Because you just have to keep that life total up.
Mm-hmm.
It is not uncommon to Fleshbag on turn 2. Like, you're forced to go first. Your opponent goes second. They don't have an arsenal. You Fleshbag them. You wanted to go second. I'm going second.
Yeah. And Scaling Fleshbag, like I would say at the opportune moment, especially when you time it, can really just switch the momentum or the tempo from that point onward, especially if you just break their chain and, or take their last card out. Like it just stops your turn sometimes, So that's fantastic.
There's a lot of heroes it's really good into. It's really good. It could be really good into Florian because he likes to do some kind of go again into Filling of the Crown. It's incredible into KO. Man. Dude, this IP2's KO so often. It saves you a bunch of points versus Syndra in given cases, though you very rarely IP2 a Syndra because usually she could just play her Arsenal and Arsenal the card you Fleshbag. But it does give you some space. You could, if you get really lucky, you can shut down a Cilio turn. You snipe their spell out of their hand. It could save you like 15 life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right. Well, I think that's wrapping up a pretty in-depth discussion on Reviled Kayo. Where can we find you guys at? Like, well, Ning, I don't care about you, but Tommy, where can they find you at?
So you could find me on my YouTube channel, Siblings and Cardboard. We just published our 100th episode.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah. We've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
I troll the Card Guys Discord quite often. And you could find me occasionally most often on Monday in Damien's stream, but sometimes I guest on Josh's stream on Tuesday and sometimes on Will's stream on Friday, depending on kind of if they're looking for additional non-Talishar people to play games into.
And he's talking about Will Bradshaw.
Will Bradshaw.
not this guy.
3 E-Strikes himself.
3 E-Strikes. Yeah, and of course for me, it's midnight_WI11 on Discord. And any last comments, Tommy, before you wrap this up?
No, I think that about covers it.
And we appreciate you, man. That was well in depth. I learned a lot, and I'm excited to keep on playing RKO. Ning, any last comments?
Don't bully me. That's all there is.
Bully.
And on that note, always keep in mind every turn is a decision, every decision is a story, and don't forget your damn Tunic Counter. Peace.
See ya.
See ya.